Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to everyone in the Wife Material Women. We are going live for an impromptu Facebook Live in here. I'm here with my beloved husband, Jonathan.
Hello, ladies.
And we wanted to pop on and talk about this topic
Topic
that has been
of
on
the
our hearts.
age.
The topic of the day and the topic of the ages really is how to find your husband in today's difficult dating climate. And we want to acknowledge that today is difficult. It's difficult to find your husband. It's not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, I look a little bit like it's looking at a battlefield. And how do we
Yeah.
get you through it without getting scraped up at all?
Yeah, ideally not at all.
Not
right?
at all, no.
Hello, those of you who are jumping on, welcome. So yeah, we want to talk about this. And ladies, if you have been dating with the intention of marriage, if you have been kind of going out there into the world of trying to date and to trying to find your husband and really putting yourself out there in the world of in real life men, and you've been finding it particularly challenging, and you feel like maybe dating feels like you're beating your head against the wall, and it just feels this am I ever going to get there? Am I ever going to get past these conversations that go nowhere online, right? Am I ever going to get past these men who just want to hook up with me? Am I ever going to get past this lack of availability that you're finding within men that you're dating, or this just lack of inspiration even that you're experiencing with the men that you're dating? This is for you. Now, you truthfully, it's we want to first of all just validate what you're feeling, because it is difficult. It's a difficult time. And there's a number of reasons we can just dive into briefly.
Yeah, well, I talked about the battlefield. I feel like men and women are largely at war, especially the more fringe you get, the more these guys are fighting with those, the feminists with the masculinists. And there's entire YouTube channels devoted to that, where men will look at women and be like, wow, it's really frustrating. And women will look at men and be like, it's really frustrating. And I'll look at these and say, oh, they're missing some things, so of course they're frustrated.
And they're missing each other.
This was a huge thing when we were talking about this topic that hit me, is there's a lot actually of marriage-minded men and women, but they're missing.
They're missing each other.
They don't know how to reach each other. They don't know how to communicate with each other.
It's we don't know how to create that bridge between the sexes anymore. And that's one of the things that we're so passionate about in our work is really creating that reconciliation, that bridging, uniting the sexes.
It makes me think how a lot of things that used to be easy seem a lot harder. It just seems harder for people post-pandemic. They don't go to the movies like they used to. They don't in men and women coming together in the modern age, it just seems like there's this invisible wall blocking them from connecting. And our job is to help, dozens of single women per year to let that wall drop and find these men, and vice versa.
Yes. I mean, there is a spiritual dimension to this, ladies. So just to validate that, I don't know what your spiritual beliefs are, but there is a warfare aspect to this as well. This is not something we talked about in advance, but it is. I believe that, the enemy is actually actively trying to keep men and women from coming together, from finding each other, from uniting in holy matrimony and, creating new families and new life. And I think that is truly an element here. And I don't want to focus on that too much. That's not a big focus of our work. But just to name that and to validate the reality of that if you're feeling oh, this is so difficult, or if you're feeling I just don't know where to go with this or how to move forward with this, there is a spiritual element of this as well. Not to make you super paranoid or not to freak you out, but that's the reality of what we're dealing with, unfortunately. But
can I say one thing? If I were to disrupt a culture, it would be to divide men and women, because we find marriage.
Absolutely.
We didn't know this until we got married. We took way too long, and then we're like, this is the coolest thing ever. Why didn't we realize this? And having men and women come together and have families and babies and be fathers and mothers, whether it's of kids or their dogs, and it just creates this solid, sane unit.
Yes.
You're just so much more graceful, powerful, and stabilized with man and woman in union than divided and yelling at each other across the internet.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, marriage is so beautiful. We wish we had known it sooner, truly. That was a whole conversion process we had to go through ourselves. But just one of the things that, we're dealing with in this world right now is just this erosion of the culture and erosion of traditional values. And back in the 50s and 60s, it was, and before then as well, and probably even like the 70s and 80s, really, there was a normalcy to wanting to get married, right? Women wanting to be wives, men wanting to be husbands, and the two genders, the two sexes actively looking for someone to do that with, to get married to start a family with. Like, this was just the norm. And so there were more people back then. So if you were a woman back then and you wanted to be a wife, you wanted to find your husband, you wanted to get married, there were more choices, there were more options, there were more available people who had the same values as you did, who had the same intentions as you did it. And so in that sense, it was easier, right? Because more people were looking for the same thing, and there were more like potential complementary matches that were going on, as the potential for that as well. With the erosion, with the sexual revolution, we can go, there's a whole deep dive. We probably need to do a podcast around that sometime, but that created a lot of erosion of the culture and traditional values. And then just as it's only gotten worse over the past decade. Hookup culture, online dating has made it very difficult, right? This kind of cult of casual, everyone wanting to take, a lot of people not really being interested in marriage, people being interested in more like hookups or more like casual dating, or more like, I want to hook up, or I want to have this like booty call, or I want to have maybe like a situationship, right? And so there's all of these factors, there's all of these challenges that are real, they are legitimate. If you're feeling them, if you're experiencing them, like you're not crazy, you're not alone. And as entrepreneurs, one of the things that we do is we solve problems. That's like
and our mission is to get you married.
Primary thing that we do. Yeah.
We're here for solutions. And this numbers thing, Claudia's taught, I'm obsessed with numbers.
Yes.
Like when people are interested in doing our Kings Road program, I'll run the numbers of their town, what the possibilities are. And they're always more shocked. I'm like, this is no problem.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to show you how the numbers, there might be less marriage-minded people, but there's a reason the numbers are more in your favor than maybe it was 20 years ago. And we'll get into that a little later in the solution part. I know this thing of like marriage not being normal and not being like honored. My Facebook page is a little more radical than yours, I think. And people, like, if I wrote about polyamory and this and that, no one would say a thing.
Yeah.
But when I write about marriage, I get canceled all the time.
Crazy.
How could you write about this? You're
heteronormative.
You're heteronormative. You're so close-minded. I'm like,
Heterosexual.
I'm not talking about you, but I'm here talking to people who want to get married, who think it's the coolest thing that you could possibly do, is find your soulmate and have everlasting love, or at least in this lifetime. And if you're interested in that, we'll get into how to avoid these modern pitfalls that everyone falls into. And get some solutions for this.
Exactly. And that's really what we're all about. We're about solutions, right? We don't want you to stay here. We don't want you to be stuck in this place. We do not want you to be in this place of just feeling mired and feeling like hopeless and feeling like, there's just no hope for me, because there's just aren't any good men. There aren't any available men. There aren't any marriage-minded men. That there may be less. Yes. And there's definitely fewer marriage-minded women as well. But the good news is, ladies, there is good news here, is that it is still very much doable, maybe more difficult, but it's still doable. And we know this because our clients do it all the time. This is, we have a very high success rate with our clients who go through our 4-month Kings Road journey. But also one of the things that we know, that we have seen, we know this to be true, is that we have spoken to many men who are also looking for the same thing that you're looking for. And we talked about this a little bit already, but like there are so many men that we have spoken to, that we know, that we have interviewed, that we have talked to over the course of the 8 years of us doing this work. They are looking for the exact same thing that you are looking for. They are looking for their wife. They are looking for marriage. They are looking for their forever person. And we know this because we've spoken to them, right? And so there's something there's something about like men being over here, women being over here, and you guys are just missing each other. Y'all are missing each other.
I think this is a unknown secret of the dating world. That men are extremely frustrated too, that there aren't quote unquote marriage minded women or like marriageable wife quality women. And they complain about it. We always think men just want to be single and conquest, and you do have to watch out.
Yes,
I'm always watching out for that with our ladies, right? And that's why we have a vetting process for that.
Yes.
But men often are not being met in a way where they feel like these women will be great wives. And I think they're just using wrong approach in dating these ladies, or they're not marriageable, But the men, these good quality men, are feeling the same thing.
Yes.
And I think that might be kind of comforting for some of you women out there that are like, there's just no good marriage-minded men.
Yeah.
The good marriage-minded men are feeling the same way.
They're feeling the same way. Yeah.
Don't you think that's kind of a secret out there? I think that is a secret. I wish more people knew that. No, it's true. It's like, if you think about it, like it makes sense, right? Like if you're looking for marriage, if you're desiring marriage, it would make sense that there are other people of the opposite gender who are looking for the same thing as you, right? And so how do we bridge that gap, right? How do we begin to actually start finding each other, right? How do you start actually finding men who are looking for what it is that you are looking for? And that's really where our work comes in. I mean, that's the work that we do with our clients. That's the work we've been doing for the past, 8 years now, is really bridging that gap and bringing united men and women and helping them find each other, helping women find the right ones who are looking for exactly what they are looking for, who are their perfect, ideal, complementary match. So we're going to talk about that, how to actually circumvent the difficult dating climate that we are living in right now, how to move around that, how to kind of bypass that, and actually find one of those men who is looking for what it is that you were looking for. Great. And we have 3 of these, and I recommend sticking around for the third, because as a man, I really think the third one is when marriage-minded men are like, where are they?
Yes.
It's going to be the key. But these are all great. So what's our number one for getting started into the solutions of this?
Yeah, the solution of this. Well, ladies, this is one of those things that may seem very obvious, right? As I'm speaking to this right now, but you would be surprised. You would be so surprised to see how many women who come into our work, or how many women that we speak with, are not actually actively making themselves available to be found. Like they, for whatever reason, maybe they just think that, if I just, lay on my sofa and I pray for my husband, or I quote unquote manifest him, right? He will just show up on my doorstep without me having to lift a finger, without me having to ever make myself available to be found by men, right? By men who would potentially be good matches for me. So many of the women that we speak with, I cannot tell you, like they're dreaming about men. They're dreaming about their husband. They're just like, it's in God's hands. I trust God completely with this, right? I'm just going to visualize him. I'm just going to keep doing all this healing work, right? I'm just going to do at home and do
my inner
child work. And I'm going to keep working on this wound from my father wound, right? Or,
and once that's finally healed, he'll come in. Or I'll just get in the flow of having my husband, and I'll have a quantum union without having to go on a journey. And I think love is more suspect to this. Like what we found is there's actually a proven process, a success formula to go, but you have to go on a journey. Whereas if you want to become an engineer, you go to school and you become an engineer. You want to be an entrepreneur and sell online, you might do a business coach and go through this. But with love, there's this idea of God's just going to be like the Amazon delivery guy or FedEx and bring them on your door. And I can't tell you how many ladies I've talked to on calls that have been doing that 5, 6, 7, 10 years.
Yes.
And they're like, Jonathan, I think I finally need to go on a journey or learn some things. I'm like, yes, it's actually a process that can be learned.
Yes.
It can't just, and yes, we do put faith in God first.
Yes.
Magical thinking, even flow. You could even say manifestation if you like. But that's a part of the process. There is a whole process that needs to unfold.
Yes.
And just waiting at home, to me, it's one of the two sides of this pendulum.
Yes.
One is I'm going on 1 million dates, and nothing's working out.
Yes.
And this is the I'm staying at home and hoping it's going to work out. And
Yeah.
both of these don't really solve the problem.
And I feel like this is one of the reasons why women are afraid to put themselves out there, to make themselves out there in the world, to be seen, to be noticed, to be pursued, because it's like women are afraid that means that they're being masculine, right? It means that that's putting them in like the chasing or the seeking or the penetrating out, that like the masculine role of this journey. I think women are afraid of that. They're afraid of like doing anything at all because they think that like doing anything at all makes them masculine.
Yeah, and to be a wife, you have to show up, right? You can't just hide in the bed all day and say it's feminine. So there is a showing upness that happens in this work. And there is, you call it a heroine's journey.
Yes.
But this is where it gets weird. Every step is about kicking back.
Yes.
If you look at the dance, it's like the man is Fred Astaire and you're showing up to the dance and kicking your legs back and swinging back.
Yeah.
Everything we do, and this is a lot of women's folly, is they will fill in the space of men.
Yes.
They will go into motivation versus inspiration, action versus feminine invitation.
Yes.
And they wonder why men don't step up,
Yes.
why they aren't doing heroic. I mean, with courtship, the men will do heroic, chivalric things that our ladies have never seen before. And that's one of the fun things to watch is when this starts kicking in. But it's an approach of feminine receptivity,
Yes.
but you show up through these different gates in kind of steps and stages, and then you're receptive through them. But if you
Yes.
don't learn the steps and stages, you're like the people waiting at home for the Amazon package that never comes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not even really a matter of putting yourself out there in terms of like, yeah, I'm going to like force myself to go on all these dates and meet all these men. It's really about like making yourself available to be found out there in the world, right? And that means having a online dating profile that is specifically tailored and written for the type of men or the types of men that you do desire to attract in your life, right? So that's part of it. And that's something we teach in our 4-month program, The King's Road. And then also it's really about like when you're out there living your life, being a receptive, warm, open invitation to the men that you encounter all day, every day, right? So there's a posture of receptivity. There's a posture of openness.
Yes.
There's a posture of invitation, right? That you want to have as you are walking around this world of men who you're going to encounter every day throughout your life, right? There's a posture that will signal invitation, that will signal to a man that you are available and open to be approached and asked out on a date, right? And pursued. And most women are walking around with their head like buried in their phone, right? Or they're looking at the ground, or they're kind of like hunched over and they aren't really making eye contact with men. They're not really smiling with men. They're kind of caved in on themselves, right? And they're not actually, they're simply not, their posture, their embodiment, how they're walking around this world as women, it's not signaling, it's not inviting to men, to potential suitors, to potential husband material men, right? It's not signaling invitation. And so no wonder, right? No wonder you're not getting asked out. No wonder you're not being pursued. No, and I don't mean this in a blaming way, but no wonder you're not experiencing that. You're not finding these husband material men is because you're not open and available and receptive to them throughout your daily life, right? So these are two shifts that you want to begin to make specifically, again, not to go out there and, hunt down your husband or anything like that, or go, chase down a man. That's not the right energy here. We don't want you to be like in that pursuing, penetrating out mode at all, but it is about making yourself available to be found by your future husband, by potential suitors who could end up being the man of your dreams, right? So this is so, so important, ladies. So love is theoretical. Love is an idea. It's a concept. It's something that everyone, thinks about, reads about, dreams about, hopes for, all of the things, right? When they're at home, prepares the way for. But really where the rubber meets the road is where you actually begin to come into contact with real life men in your life, both online and offline?
Okay, I would like to address a couple things here, the approach and the numbers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so this posture you said,
Yes.
this feminine receptive posture. We work with a lot of successful ladies, a lot of
Yes.
business, a lot of driven.
Yes.
And so they might not even be on their iPhones kind of doing this, or like they're marching forward, marching to the next business meeting,
Right.
marching through to get their Starbucks or their green juice. They're marching through life. And that's what men do. Would you rather march or should I march?
Yeah, I'd rather sway.
You'd sway.
Sashay.
Now you have a mission in life in helping women and that,
Sure.
but you do it through a feminine approach. In fact, a lot of our ladies will then take more feminine approaches to even business and sales and things like that. It's not a good selling if you're like marching through the cafe, the restaurant, the church, like you're on a business meeting, but you open up.
Yeah.
And you become softer and warm and receptive. And what I like about this is the organic approach,
Yes.
kind of in your daily life, is you get to practice with safe men in safe environments. You're not on the street doing this in places that seem sketchy. And you start to trust men in the masculine, which is a huge
Yes.
part of that invisible wall. Is women and men don't trust each other.
Yeah.
It's not just women don't
Yeah,
trust
very
men,
true.
men don't trust women. And if you're approaching men like that, they trust you more too. And you start feeling more safer opening up with men,
Yes.
but step by step.
Step by
not
step.
not all at once.
It's this gradual kind of titrated way, right?
Yes.
Where it's like it's like you think about like intimacy, right? Being this pool, right? Where the deep end is like marriage and like, you're fully in union with someone, but then it's like to get to that deep end of the pool, we kind of have to get into the shallow end and wade our way there and gradually get acclimatized to the water and get used to the temperature and get used to the depth and all these things. So this is exactly what we have our ladies do. It's like you want to acclimatize to being in the world with men. You want to acclimatize to being in conversation, in relationship with men. You want to start feeling safe with them again. You want to start feeling like, oh, this person that maybe I was fantasizing about, or this person that I was idolizing, or this person that I was demonizing in my own mind, right? Like they're actually real and they're actually human. And there's the possibility of a beautiful connection here.
Yeah, in doing it from the shallow end to the deep end, a lot of people, if they've been at home hoping for good men and they go out and they dive directly in the deep end, they set themselves up for failure too, and they get hurt and they postpone love or don't do it at all.
Exactly.
Now, the other side of this, and I can do this quickly, is I was talking about the numbers.
Yes.
That gets into the apps. Boy, I love going on the internet. It's depressing too, and seeing all the dating coaches saying how the apps suck and all the single people in this. How do I feel about the apps?
I think when you use them correctly, you love them.
I love them because I love to win. I love to get women their husbands. I'd say probably 90% of our ladies will find them through the apps because there's extra vetting. You don't have to go out to restaurants or, God forbid, bars or, even church, although I like church a lot. You can just do it at home in your time, have a nice glass of something lovely and spend 20 minutes and have all these lovely men, and some not, and they get sifted out. And you can vet before you even go on a date and meet all these great men. And this is where the numbers get in your favor over like the 90s when we didn't really do online dating. It was looked at as kind of for losers and stuff. Now it's where everyone goes. You go to shop, you go online. You look for a husband, you go online.
Right.
And it may be back in the 50s, 60s, there was, 70% of men were marriageable and women or something. I don't know. Maybe it's 30% now. But because of the internet and these technologies, you can meet the 30% way easier.
Yeah.
And I think your numbers may even be better than they were back in the day.
Ultimately, yes, there's probably a higher number, maybe not a higher percentage, but a higher number.
That you can get.
Greater bulk of men.
Lower percentage of marriage-minded men, but a higher percentage of marriage-minded men you can access.
Yes.
And I like to win, so going for the win in this is really key.
Yeah.
And I just see people look at the apps as this like burden or like something you have to do, and I'm like, no, this is like, we have one template that we've used to get like hundreds of people married, and I call it the husband hunter. Because you don't have to go hunt the husband. It's got this receptivity and warmth in it. And everyone puts it in their own way, and the men come find you.
Yes. I love that. So number one is making yourself available to be found. That is so important, ladies. I know it sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised at how many women are not actually doing that. So that's number one. The second one is really, really important. And I think it's one of the reasons why men and women are missing each other so much right now, is that number two is to let go of your preferences and clarify your true deal breakers and non-negotiables. And I'm going to say what we really mean by this is that your preferences, so many women are dating according to their preferences, right? So a preference is like something I would prefer, but it's not a true non-negotiable. It's actually has almost no bearing on whether this man is husband material or not, or like whether he would, the potential to have a really great marriage with this man, right? It almost has no bearing on that. So an example of like a preference would be a man's height, right? And we've had so many women come into our work and just being like, yeah, like always envision myself getting married to a man who was over 6 feet. And I have to have that. Like that's something that I just feel like I must have, right? And I always really want to like slow them down and ask them and be like, okay, is that something that you really must have? Is that something that you require in a husband? Does his height have anything to do with the fact that like whether or not he would be a good husband? And the answer is absolutely not. It has nothing to do with that, right? Now, I get it. Like the reason for you desiring a tall man maybe would be that you want to be married to someone that you're attracted to, right? And that's fair. And that's something that obviously you do want. That is a true non-negotiable that I would definitely have on my non-negotiable list if I were looking for a husband, right? Like that would be really, really at the top of the list. But I would also ask myself, wait, do I really need to be with a man who's over 6 feet in order to be attracted to a man, right? And the answer is no. And the answer for most of us is actually no. That's just a preference, right? That's like, oh, I would really prefer that, but that's actually not something that would really has anything to do with like whether this marriage would be successful or whether even I would be attracted to this man. So looking at the reason behind your preference, and that can actually it can expand your aperture. It can open up your aperture of available men, right? Because if you're only looking for men over a certain height, if you're only looking for men over 6 feet, the truth is like, first of all, this doesn't matter as much as, you may have thought it mattered. Really doesn't matter at all. But the truth is like the number of men who are over 6 feet, it's less than the number of men who are 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", right?
5'11".
5'11", right? So there's a greater percentage of men. So it's not like I'm not saying that you have to date a man that's shorter than you or a man that's even your height, but like if you just open up your aperture a little bit, if you open up you expand the world of possibilities and you let go of some of your preferences and you go from like, okay, I'm going to expand my aperture. I'm going to open up what I thought that I needed, right, in order to be a full yes to a man. I'm going to let go, not be so rigid about that. I'm not going to be so, really like rigid about like what I think I require, and really soften, loosen some of those preferences, and then just open it up to different people that maybe I would have overlooked in the past, right? So you go from having like a smaller percentage of men to a larger pool of men that over time you may discover that they have extraordinary characters, right? Or that you have deep compatibility of values and that you are attracted to them, not just because of their height, but because of their character, right? And maybe they're handsome in a way that you wouldn't have necessarily, they're attractive in a way that you wouldn't have necessarily thought of before, right? I'm thinking of a particular client that we had who went on, she found her beloved last year. She was one of our superstar clients, and she found her beloved after like I think 17 dates or something like that. Yeah, but she went on this date with this man, and she was sort of like, okay, he's not super tall, right? And I usually go for super tall guys, and yet she felt like she was maybe about a 5 or a 6 out of 10 level of attraction to this man. But every time she went back out on a date with him, every time she got to know him a little bit more, every time, he kept coming around, and he would buy her flowers, and he would make her cheesecake and things, these beautiful gestures of chivalry that he would do for her. Like, he grew in attraction, right? He became a lot more attractive. And then that number 6 out of 10 became like ultimately like a 10 out of 10. And she was a full yes to him. And that's how what happens, ladies, when you expand your aperture, when you let go of some of your preference and you clarify what truly matters to you versus really what doesn't, and you let go of some of the preferences.
With our clients, I'm always shocked at these guys that are 5 or 6s. And then we'll get the engagement photo, the marriage photo, and I'm like, this guy is hot. This guy is studly. Why was he a 5 or a 6 attraction level? And I think part of attraction is we have to take accountability. If it was working, I would be married by now. And sometimes our attraction isn't always the best. There's something biochemical, or maybe this is something about dad or bad boyfriends or whatever we've done. And we even have types. As you're saying this, I'm going to reveal a little bit about myself. I've never revealed live. Maybe not even to Claudia, because I haven't thought about it much. But I think I had a type of dark-haired women. And, the love of my life ended up being a blonde. And just like, I think that was a type, and that's what I do, just kind of unconsciously. And sometimes I think these personality, or these like preferences, they're just types we've kind of fallen into. And they might even be ruts.
They're like ruts, a lot of the time. And then become very rigid too. It's like, oh, it's got to be this. It's got to be this way. This is my type, right?
Yeah.
But is your type, like you said, like if it was working, wouldn't you be married right now if your type was right? And of course, we're not saying like get married to someone you're not attracted to, but some of our attraction, and this is something that we talk about a lot in our work, in our Kingsword program, like healthy attraction versus unhealthy attraction. A lot of the attraction, the standards that women have for attraction have a lot to do with having this kind of high sensation, burning, yearning chemistry, and really massive fireworks with a man upon first meeting him. And usually we've noticed over the course of 8 years of doing this work is that those relationships usually don't last. They burn bright and then they burn out really, really fast. So that is ultimately, you want to look for a different type of attraction, right? You want to look for a slow burn attraction. You want to look for attraction that grows over time. Like we shared with you this client that we had before last year, where that attraction really, really went up over time, and she felt herself growing in attraction to him the more that he revealed his character to her. And now they just have this beautiful, beautiful relationship.
Never have I seen so many 6 and 7s turn into 10s, and they'll go 11 and off the chart, because they did the right process, and they went through a process that really brought out his character, but also the best in his character.
Yes.
In relationship with the masculine stepping up in heroic inspiration of the feminine. I think another one I see with preferences, sense of humor is really important for most people. Is for me. It's very funny. But I think sometimes that there's you're expecting men to have this extra level of game. And I can't tell you how many great husbands we have. True. They just weren't quite as overly charming as these guys that didn't show up in the way they should. And they might have been a quieter or subtler style of things. Yeah. And they ended up turning out to be the best husbands and fathers. I also think there's this thing of sometimes your preferences, like you're saying, there is a need underneath.
Yes.
You want a 6-foot guy because you want someone that's going to protect you as well.
Yes.
Attract and protect and provide.
Yes.
But him being 6 foot doesn't necessarily mean he's going to meet any of those. Maybe the attraction one, but the other needs, he might not be good at that at all.
Yeah, it's so true. And even one of the things that we've noticed is that the preferences can, and this is not always true, you don't have to say I can't go for anyone over 6 feet. Of course, a preference means is that you prefer it, right? But or you want it, you desire it, but it's not required, right? So not saying you can't have preferences, you can't have desires. It's just important to clarify the difference between what really is a preference versus what's actually more like a true deal breaker, what is a true non-negotiable, what are the things that I really do require in a husband that would really make me happy over the course of my lifetime, right? So one of the things that we've noticed about preferences, not always, but preferences can actually be red or yellow flags, right? So Jonathan was saying you may prefer a man who's very charming, who's very charismatic, who's got a lot of game, who knows all the right moves, who knows how to, say the right things, or whatever it is, lead the polarity dance in the perfect way. Like, the truth is, a lot of marriage-minded men actually don't have a lot of game. A lot of men who would be excellent husbands aren't the best at like the dating phase. They aren't the best at like, they aren't necessarily the most charismatic. They aren't necessarily the most charming. They don't always have the best moves. They can be a little awkward. They can be even a little bit shy. They can be a little bit, just not like these kind of alpha player types that tend to have a lot of charisma. So sometimes even the preferences that like your ego may be like, oh, I feel like I have to have this in a man. Sometimes those things can actually be red flags. They can actually be things that, not always, but they can actually end up being things that really, really are things that actually you probably don't want to have.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. I would watch some dating shows, and they would always go after the super charming, playboyish guys looking for marriage. And I'm like, they're making the wrong choices here. And you can see these other guys that actually be great husbands. I'm like, uh-oh. And then all 7 go for this guy that I'm like, this guy's going to love him and leave him. And that's exactly what happens. What would happen. But with preferences too, like from the man's perspective, you don't want him to do that to you. You want him to be open to your character. You're not, oh, you've got dark hair. I can put me in. She's this height. She's this. Okay.
The checklist.
The checklist. The checklist date sucks.
It's dehumanizing. Yeah, it really is.
It is. And yet I would honor some of these things are absolutely key. The deal breakers and non-negotiables. Like he must be marriage minded.
Yes.
Like, do not date people who are not marriage-minded. You don't have to go over the top. So, are you marriage-minded? Do you want to have a kid within a year? You don't want to do that. But he's got to be, because I also see women waste too much time with these guys.
Yes.
I dated him for 5 years, and he didn't want to marry me. He said he wasn't into marriage. Well, what are we doing? If you want to get married, you got to marry a guy who says he's wanting to get married. I also think
and that's why it's so important to sorry to interrupt, but that is why it's so important to clarify like what your true deal breakers are, your true standards, your true non-negotiables. Like what are the things that you absolutely do require, and have a very concrete list. And it's not like Jonathan's like, you're not going on a date and like you're just measuring him up against this list in your head in this really sort of dehumanizing way. But you do have a spine. You do have standards. You're not just going to say yes to any man who shows up in your life or in your inbox, or be like, sure, I'll just get into this relationship with this man because this is all that's presenting itself. Sure, I'll just get into this relationship. That's not ideal either. So there's a real sweet spot with this.
And there's a delusional aspect that's permitted in love that I don't think is in other things so much. I'm thinking of 2 ladies I had on calls that were thinking, and one wanted a man that made $5 million, the other wanted to marry a man that made $10 million. And I kind of get it. If you're making millions, that might be a good match. But they were kind of broke in this, and that's a little delusional, right? Yeah. And so I think sometimes our preferences are in that world of fantasy. And we want you to have divine romance, not like a romance novel that's not going to last. Yeah. And so we do want, but I do think it's legit to want a man who can provide and protect and all of these things. So I always will ask when women date men, does he have a job? Is he financially independent?
Yeah.
Does he seem solid with those things? And
Yes.
if those ladies had said that to me,
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, I can totally help you.
Yes.
But with that, I'm like, no, I can't help you because that's more fantasy.
And it's like it's based on the really objectification of the opposite sex, and that's not what we do.
Well, I guess women can objectify men in that way, like men will objectify women. And I also,
100%.
I'm not a huge Kevin Samuels fan, but I learned one thing from him. He's like, you don't want a wife, like we call Claudia wife style here. You want a lifestyle. And it's probably the same with husband. You don't want a marriage in this. You're kind of looking for a lifestyle change. And,
Yeah.
And it is a lifestyle change for sure. It'll be the biggest change you ever do. But yeah, so there is a fantasy thing to preferences, but the non-negotiables are important. Like no druggies, no smoking for a lot of people. Drinking is a big one, especially if they've dated alcoholics before. I always say we're never going to do that again, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So preferences is different than deal breakers and non-negotiables, and that's kind of one of your first lessons in the Claudia delivers in our King's Road, is to go through those so you really know them when you're going out into the dating
so
world.
it makes such a world of difference, ladies. And again, it opens up your aperture. It helps you start seeing men that you previously wouldn't have considered. It helps you start seeing really vetting according to things that actually matter versus things that don't. And once again, it creates that bridges you between, it creates that bridge, right, between you and your future husband. Okay, so number 3. I know we have so much to say on each of these.
I could go on for an hour, but we've got to move on.
We got to move on a little bit. So number 3 is.
Yeah, well, I have to pull it. Learn what husband material men are actually looking for in a wife, and begin to cultivate those qualities. Okay, can I say something on that?
Please.
This is where I think those men who are feeling there are no marriage-minded or not marriageable women, because there are a lot of marriage. The men aren't complaining, from what I see, that women don't want marriage. They're complaining that the women aren't showing up with wife qualities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, I have our ladies practice being
important.
a wife in their own lives, in their house, and how they cook and how they feel, so they can practice being a wife in the real world. I actually don't like them going out being single, kind of searching. I want them to already be cultivating these wife-like qualities. And if you're going in with the resume date, if you're going in, so what do you do for, what is this? What is that? It repels men. If you go in hyper motivated, like we love it when men are like achievement oriented and this, but the men aren't loving it with the women.
Yeah.
We have to admit that men and women are biologically different. And when women show up appreciative with feminine receptivity, the men will attract to that and magnetize to that, and they'll show up in ways they never have before.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, this is one of the things that I feel like women don't understand, right? It's like women today, it's like we want everything. We want everything that we want, right? We just want what we want on a silver platter. And I get it. Like you want what you want, you desire what you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, like truly. But we rarely think about the women who truly, I think one of the reasons why so many women are struggling in love right now is that they rarely take the time to actually discover what a husband material man is actually looking for in a wife, let alone practice embodying those qualities, cultivating those qualities now. And those qualities are not qualities that are like unpleasant. It's actually delightful to cultivate the quality of feminine receptivity. It's actually delicious to cultivate the quality of feminine vulnerability. It's actually a beautiful thing to begin to appreciate men, to begin to learn how to respect them and admire them. So for me, it's not like a sacrifice. It's not like, I have to be someone I'm not, or I have to be some contorted version of myself or anything like that. It's like, no, becoming a wife, it's just an evolution of my woman. It's an evolution of where I want to go in my life, right? Like motherhood requires certain qualities of women, right? There's certain elements that you have to, or we have to cultivate as women when we become mothers. Mm-hmm. It's the exact same thing when you become a wife. And I feel like the problem with so many modern relationships is that women are not actually understanding what a man actually wants and needs in a woman. And then they're wondering, oh, why isn't he choosing me, right? Why is he ignoring me? Why is he not pursuing me, right? Why is he ghosting me? Well, there may be something going on where you're not the match. You're not being the match. You're not embodying the qualities, traits, and characteristics that your future husband is looking for. And again, I'm not saying like this is about self-abandonment or you have to be someone fundamentally different than you're not. It's just an evolution of your character as a woman, of your womanhood, truly. And really the people that thrive in love, the people who have the best outcomes in their love lives are the people that take the time to understand what the other sex is actually looking for. Because this is something that we've forgotten as a culture, because we're such a narcissistic me culture. And it's like, what do I want? What do I need? And that's important to a certain extent. But what we're missing is like, what does he want? What does he, or if you're a man, what does she want?
Yeah.
And being able to meet each other in our needs and our desires.
Yeah, in our hearts. In our biological systems. I mean, one of the things I was going to say earlier is why men and women are missing each other is because there's too much transactional relationships. I mean, I think you have to put God first and see every person you date as a soul. And
I love that.
As far as the qualities go, ladies that come into our work really want to go through that transformation. It's like a butterfly, chrysalis cocoon thing. It is. And some ladies will say, well, I really don't, before they come into the work, they'll say, well, I really don't want to change who I am. Mm-hmm. And I mean, first of all, I ask the men to do the same thing. You've got to learn some things and change if you want to go from single to husband or single to having a wife. But also, it's not like we're changing your character or changing who you are. Yes, you're going to have to learn to communicate in a more eloquent, elegant, artful way for sure, but that feels good. And it will deepen your character. It's not going to just this is not Stepford wife stuff. If you know that you're not robot person, it's like it deepens and enriches the experience. So it's not like we're splitting your character and sending you out in the world. I hate it when I get misunderstood like that. But it's like, no, you're going to love yourself even more, and men are going to love, and it's going to bring out more of your feminine essence and qualities. So these men are stepping up. And I think that's one of the funnest things about courtship is when the men start showing up in ways they've never seen. I've never had men deliver me flowers. You were talking about that one client, this guy, there were men, like a flood happened and they came and rescued her and like cleaned out her apartment and unflooded it, sending her roses from abroad, and he was gone, so he made sure the nearby person at the market was there with the flowers when she came by. Like, when you have these qualities, they step up in amazing ways. I mean, I know Claudia steps up in these qualities more and more every year, right? And last year, I mean, I felt like I put a lance on my shoulder and attacked the Italian bureaucracy so we could move you here. So when you embrace these qualities, if you have the same men don't step up, they don't initiate, they don't do chivalrous things, this is what solves that problem. In fact, that's what lets you go through all the stages to marriage. Feminine inspiration, these qualities, and the men stepping up in noble, I would almost say heroic ways.
I love that so much. No, it's so true. So true. Yeah, so ladies, these are some of the reasons. Well, we talked about some of the reasons why there's such a divide right now between men and women and why the dating culture is so challenging. But it's not only possible, like it's very much doable for you to do this. Like when you practice these, you make these 3 shifts, you make yourself available to be found, you let go of your preferences and clarify your true non-negotiables and deal breakers and vet according to those things. And then 3, learn what a husband material man is actually looking for in a wife, and then beginning to cultivate and embody those qualities within yourself. So these shifts alone are true game changers. And if you do these, really, you will start to see massive shifts in your love life, and you will start to see, wow, there actually are a lot of really great husband material, marriage-minded men out there that I was blind to before.
Yeah. So, should I dive in?
Yeah.
So if you've been missing the men, if there's been this invisible wall, if you haven't cracked a single code, and your deepest desire is to get married, it's like your number one priority, and you want to find your person, your lifetime partner, that one this year. Most of our clients, they find them within 6 to 9 months, sometimes within a few, like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So if you're coachable and dedicated to the result.
Yes.
So if you're that, we are opening up our Kings Road program very soon. We have early bird pricing that's available only now. So we're going to put a link below in the description, and you can set up a 30-minute, no pressure Kings Road breakthrough call, connection call with me, and we'll look at your love life. And if we can help, we'll totally invite you in. And it'll probably be the best call you've ever had on your love life. So that's happening. If you're catching us on the podcast, we are doing this live in our Facebook group, The Wife Material Woman. Is
The
that
Wife Material Woman, yeah.
So
I'll put a link to that. We can put a link to that as well.
Absolutely. So you're welcome to join us there, where we give special teachings and I guess you could say transmissions, if you will, but we give some special teachings there that we don't do across the web. So that's where you can come for some of these. And if you're interested in finding your husband, please reach out. That's our mission here, is to get men and women back together in happy, successful marriages.
That's right. All right, ladies, hope to see you on the call and hope to see you on the King's Road.
And from Italy, ciao from now.
Ciao for now.